What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr Wargames, bringing you a test stand video for the Altergeist deck profile that I showed you guys yesterday. Now Altergeist are going to be a little bit different in our test stands. We'll still do our standard first, free going first and free going second, but we might have to play through turns a little bit more just to show you the disruption that we've made and just how they can kind of combo off during your opponent's turn as well. So after a good old shuffle and a nice decent cut, we're going to go into our first open hand of 5 being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that is actually an insanely good hand in a sense. The only thing that would have made this better is if this was Marionetta. Now unfortunately, because we don't have Link Karibo, this is as good as this kind of first turn play gets. So disappointingly, we can't even get into Ruska because it is our first turn. So you would set the Melee Seeks if you wanted to. You'd then set the Torrential Tribute and the personal spoofing. Your other alternative is to keep the Melee Seek in hand and then you can spin it back with spoofing. So it's entirely up to you on which way you want to go with this, but regardless, during our opponent's turn they would do whatever. Now, if they summon a monster, you TT it, you then get your multi-faker on the board with a Silquus. Now, if they don't summon any monster, which obviously they will do at a certain point, you can choose to spoofing. Your better option is to TT them, because that way it disrupts them more. So whichever one of these tracks you use, you then, after that is resolved, you reveal your multi-faker, special summon your multi-faker there in defense mode, and then multi-faker's effect would go off to give you your Silquus. And there we go. Now the only other option to put in Melee Seek on board is you could then bounce it with your Silquus and then kind of go from there. Alternatively, after you've used Silquus' effect, you could then activate Spoofing to bounce Silquus back. Other than that, during this turn you've cleared your opponent board with a TT. You then, of course, if you say, oh, your normal summon's fine, you move your place forward into the battle phase and they're going to attack you, that's when you can use Spoofing. Regardless, your safer kind of thing is during the end phase you can use Silquus' effect, bounce your multi-faker back to your hand, you bounce one card your opponent controls, then obviously of course it will come to you. So it will cut the deck and then we'll draw one of our cards. Solemn Strike, which is absolutely fine because now we can set the strike, but we'll hold on to that. Let's say we used Ash in the last hand as well. You can activate the Spoofing. Spoofing will then, of course, special summon out your multi-faker. Your multi-faker then gets her effect off. Now, you could bring out a second Silquus. The only reason you would do that is to kind of get rid of one. Alternatively, your better ability would be to get your Melee Seek, put that onto the board, link up your multi-faker and your Melee Seek, and go into your Hextia. Then use the Melee Seek effect to search out your Marionetta. Normal summon your Marionetta below your Hextia. Marionetta then sets you one of your track cards. Now ideally, because we don't have it right now, we would want Protocol to be set. Now obviously the only disappointing thing right now is we don't have, like, Silquus is live because you can bounce the Marionetta, but ideally we want that for the Hextia to do the negate. Alternatively, what we would want to do is you could then use Spoofing's effect, if you haven't done so already, to spin your Melee Seeks back and get yourself a multi-faker, so that during your opponent's turn, if you activate the Solemn Strike that you're about to set, or if you activate your Protocol during your opponent's standby phase, you're going to get a multi-faker and a Silquus. So alternatively, what you could do after you've done all your damage is you can link these two guys up again and go into a second Hextia. Now obviously what you've got to remember is Hextia's first ability of negating a spell or trap is not a hard once per turn. So after you finish your board like this with your set Solemn Strike, during your opponent's standby phase you would activate, obviously you've already used Spoofing, this would then be a multi-faker. Whether you do that during your opponent's turn or whether you do that towards the end of your turn, you then activate Protocol during their standby phase. Make sure you put multi-faker there. Alternatively, if you don't put multi-faker there, put multi-faker here, and then put Silquus there. But by doing it that way, Silquus has less effectivity because it will be the one that you'll get rid of with Hextia. So if you go like this, you've got a bounce with Silquus that can bounce, of course, Protocol or multi-faker back to hand ideally. You've got Hextia that can then get rid of this multi-faker to negate a spell or trap, and you've got this Hextia that can get rid of this Hextia to then again negate a spell or a trap, and then that Hextia once it's been tributed off, can then get you another Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. So that's it for the first test stand. Again, a little bit longer than normal test stands just because we're trying to show you a bit of extension play. So of course that went through 2 of our turns, 2 of our opponent's turns. But now we're just going to go through one of ours and one of our opponents, again to show you the disruption. So the next hand of 5 shall be, after a good old shuffle and a decent fair cut, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, again, not the best, but again, also not the worst. So, you would probably set your Imperial Order and your strike. You can set your manifestation as well. Now, ideally, what you want to do is you can choose to activate Imperial Order during your opponent's standby phase or their main phase to shut down all their spells and traps to get your multi-faker out. Or alternatively, you can go with your Solemn Strike and wait for the opportune moment. Right now, nothing is really causing you huge amounts of issues. They normal summon a monster, that's fine. They punch you in the face for, you know, what like maximum of a normal summon monster can do. Alternatively, if they go any bigger, you strike them. Because this activates on a secondary chain, you go multi-faker. Multi-faker hits the board, and then you've got your Seal Coitus play there. Now, what you'd want to be doing is you've got manifestation should any of these end up in graveyard. So you would activate your Seal Coitus. Your Seal Coitus would then bounce your multi-faker, causing your opponent a bit more disruption. And this is obviously after you've already struck them. And then you've got an Imperial Order should any damage comes around. Now, you want to avoid trying to use that because you want to use your knowledge. So let's say we've bounced the multi-faker. We haven't had to use Imperial Order this turn again, which is absolutely fine. Draw for turn. You've got your Melee Seeks, which again is actually really, really good because you can knowledge it, get 2 and get a search. But again, that's entirely up to you. You can activate your Imperial Order, get multi-faker to board, and build your plays that way. So let's go with... we want to use Spellbook of Knowledge, to be honest, so... trying to think of the best way to do this. Ideally, you could go normal summon the Melee Seeks. Link these guys together. Go into your Hextia. Melee Seeks effect will go off, giving you a secondary multi-faker because you've already used our normal summon. Activate Manifestation. Bring back the Melee Seek. Put the Melee Seek there. By doing so, you then get to special summon your multi-faker, and because we're going aggressive, she can go into attack. We'll put her there. Then off of multi-faker, we can get our Seal Coitus. Now, Melee Seeks is a hard once per turn, so you won't get another search if it goes. So it's up to you when you'd want to play your card. Alternatively, now what we can do is we could link up more if you want to and give us another spell or trap negate. You can go in for the attacks there, use Seal Coitus' effect to send a card. Then during main phase 2, now I believe this is where the difference comes in the OCG, but I could be wrong. But ideally what you'd want to do is you want to go knowledge on Melee Seeks because it's attached to manifestation, then chain your Seal Coitus to bounce your manifestation so it doesn't get destroyed. Send the Melee Seeks to the graveyard with knowledge. I better put this upside down so you know it's not active. Draw your 2 cards off of Seal Coitus. There you go, and then you can move your plays even further forward. There you'd go Duality, whatever you go for Duality. You set your manifestation, you've got targets in the graveyard, and then both good and bad, you've got 2 multi-fakers in hand, so you have the ability to kind of move your plays further forward that way. Alternative, if you wanted to, you could link these 2 guys up, go into a second Hextia for the turn. You could do your Duality if you want to, but I'm not really too fussed about that right now. Set the manifestation during your opponent's turn. Standby phase if you wanted to, you could activate the manifestation. Bring back a Seal Coitus. Then, of course, you would reveal a multi-faker, put a multi-faker there, and then multi-faker in turn can then bring you out a Melee Seeks. Because you've used up both your Seal Coituses, at least with the Melee Seeks, if it goes, you would then get a search. And then, of course, if you wanted to, you could activate the Imperial Order and move your place further forward that way. Unfortunately, right now, I don't believe the multi-fakers have an OTK, not multi-fakers, sorry, Altergeist have an OTK kind of play or board. They can get to 7,700, I think, but that is like bare bones. Your opponent's got nothing. You've flooded the board with loads and kind of moved your play further forward. Anyway. So our final test hand going first, and then we can start being a bit aggressive. So, final cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so again, this is a little bit interesting, a little bit slower, but again, still very interesting. Because what you do is you normal summon your Marionetta. Marionetta's effect would then go off. Set in your protocol. And then what you could do is you can set these three here past your opponent during their standby phase. You can activate spoofing, spinning back Marionetta back to your deck, and hope your opponent doesn't ash you. Then get a multi-faker to your hand. Because again it's on a separate chain, multi-faker would then bring itself out, and then multi-faker would then bring out a Seal Coitus, and then you can chain protocol and anti-spell if you wanted to. With still a face-down strike ready to go, so your opponent's got to settle their spells and traps. You have the ability to bounce any of their spells and traps during the end phase with Seal Coitus. Protocol is stopping these being negated, and if your opponent does want to activate a monster effect, you can activate Protocol and move your plays further forward that way. You've then also got an Ash to stop their searching. I would pretty much say this is a very, very nice first turn board lockdown. Now again, what you could do is during your next standby phase, so let's say you've used Seal Coitus' effect, you've bounced your multi-faker back to the hand, you draw for your turn, you've got a Maleseeks, which again is actually really, really good. It's one of the good top decks we could have done. Even if this was a dead Altergeist card, you would shift it back with spoofing, so not an issue whatsoever. Normal summon your Maleseeks, you can link these guys together, and you would go into your Hexia, alternatively, and then get a search off the Maleseeks. Alternatively, you spin the Maleseeks back for a Marionetta. Normal summon the Marionetta, that sets another protocol, because then Seal Coitus can bounce this protocol later on if it wants to, or of course, spoofing during your opponent's turn can spin that back as well. Again, you can then link them up. The only issue we have is because all three of these have been active, we needed a way to get this on here, so we'd want to try and strike our opponents so we can get a multi-faker to board and build our board a little bit more. But like I said, this is a bit more about containment, and if multi-faker was on trap activation, activating a card effect, if it was if you activate a trap card or effect, it would have been busted, because you know, you use your protocol, you get one out, you use your spoofing, you get one out. So luckily it is only the activation, so keep that in mind. Anyway, let's move on to our first test hand going second. So now we can be a heck of a lot more aggressive, and not that they have a lot of aggression on them, but it'll show you what that SIP card can do. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In hindsight, that SIP card isn't actually that useful now, because our opponent's already set up their board, and this is basically a first turn kind of hand anyway. So you'd normal summon your Marionetta, set your protocol, there you go, set your protocol, set all of these. I would keep a manifestation in hand. There's really no reason to set both of them. You can attack with your Marionetta at 16 if you want to. Other than that, what you'd want to be doing is you would activate your spoofing during the standby phase, spin back the manifestation, get yourself out a multi-faker, chaining obviously protocol, so both of these are active if you want to, and bring your multi-faker to board. Alternatively, you could shuffle back your manifestation, get out your multi-faker, but not use its effect. It might give away with what you're planning to do, because of course you've got the Torrential Tribute on board, but it does give you an option. So maintaining your multi-faker in hand and not using its effect straight away, again, like I said, it will probably make your opponent question why you've not used this in doing so. So it's really up to you. Alternatively, like I said, another option you could do, say we use Ash in this one, is to hold back so your opponent doesn't try and second guess what you're doing. You would do everything you can, then activate TT, nuke your opponent's board, then change spoofing to spin back your manifestation for your multi-faker. That way you clear the board, bring out your multi-faker alongside your Silquitous for a bit of a bounce. So again, going second is not ideal because they can then just deal with your back row and stuff like that. So multi-faker, not multi-faker, Altergeist, if you win the dice roll, you're going first, no doubt about that. And then when you are insiding, you'll put in more actual hand traps, like impermanence and stuff like that, if you don't already main it. Just to kind of provide as much disruption to your opponent that you possibly can. And then, of course, you'll deal with all back row hate and you know, if you think your opponent's going to denko you and stuff like that. Anyway, our next hand of 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, not bad. Because this is our guy's second hand and this was in our opening 5, we're going to use Ash Blossom. You know, very rare that you haven't used Ash Blossom. And again, it's a little bit, not lackluster, but going second, you're always playing catch up with the Altergeist. So you'd normal summon your Marionetta. Marionetta then gets you a search. Now, ideally, you want Protocol because that is your best protector. It stops them negating your multi-faker. You can then set the rest of these. And then, you know, do the attack with your multi-faker, your Marionetta, pass turn, during your opponent's standby, activate Protocol. Protocol gives you multi-faker. Multi-faker then gives you your Silquitous. Now, your Silquitous has a bounce and it can bounce your Marionetta. If your opponent tries to activate any monster effect, you can activate Protocol, tributing off one of these two. Ideally, you'd probably get rid of multi-faker right now. Because then dealing with multi-faker, getting rid of multi-faker then allows you to activate manifestation, because multi-faker during your turn, it's only when it's special summoned it gets the effect off, so you can hold off during your turn, activate manifestation, bring back multi-faker, flood the board with 2 more Altergeists, and then if you draw into an Altergeist, happy days. You got a strike and a judgment. Now, unless they're going to activate Twin Twister and hit any of these, you're stopping 2 major threats with those. Obviously, you ideally want to do strike first, then judgment, because then judgment's a little bit cheaper. Let's say you bounce your Marionetta. Let's say you negate a monster effect with Protocol, not that your judgments or strikes haven't done it. You would draw for your turn. That's absolutely fine, because then what you can do is you can activate your manifestation, bring out your multi-faker. Multi-faker then brings out another one from deck. Now, I'd probably go with a Maleseek. You can normal summon this Marionetta. That would then set one of the traps, and ideally right now you want spoofing, but spoofing's not searchable. You got your manifestation. And then what you want to do is you can link these guys together and go, of course, into your Hextia, chain Silquitous' ability, bounce your manifestation that's active to hand. I'll put these upside down so it's not active. Bounce one that was active that was linked to multi-faker to hand, and then bounce obviously your opponent's card. Then you get your Maleseek search, so you'd want to be searching out your multi-faker, wherever, there you go. Then you've got a bounce with your Silquitous. You've already used your bounce with Silquitous, sorry. You've got Protocol that's negating stuff. If your opponent wants to cause you any issues, you can use Protocol to get rid of your Silquitous, which isn't too much of an issue right now because you've used its effect. It's a bit of a dead card. You can switch it into attack if you think you can beat through. Attack. Pass your opponent's turn. Set your manifestation first if you want to. Because you've got 2 on board, it's kind of a dead card. Pass your opponent's turn. Activate manifestation if you want to. Bring back your multi-faker, and then obviously your multi-faker can go off from there, keeping the one in hand safe and sound. So you've got a bit of extensive plays there. You've locked your opponent out. Like, they've lost at least 2 cards with the strike and the judgment. 3 if you include the Protocol during that turn. You've bounced 2 cards with your Silquitous. So it really does cause them quite a lot of disruption. But again, as you saw, it does take a turn to set up. Okay, so now let's do our final test hand going second and see where we can end this all. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a perfect opening hand of 5 already. So let's see what our SIP card is. SIP cards is a melee 6, which is absolutely fine. Now the reason, actually no, that would change. That would change because what you would do is during your opponent's turn, you would activate impermanence, negating one of your opponent's cards. That then gets you a turn 0 multi-faker with a Seal Coitus. And then obviously your Seal Coitus during your opponent's end phase can bounce the multi-faker. So I mean, we need more, for Altergeist, we need more actual hand traps. You can play like stuff like Typhoon and that, but it's not really worth it right now. Anyway, so Seal Coitus will then bounce multi-faker. Draw for your turn. We've got Solemn Strike, which is absolutely fine. Set your spoofing, set your protocol, set your strike. Now annoyingly, we've got no other monster. We could normal summon the multi-faker if you wanted to, but it really isn't worth it. So unfortunately we do have to take a turn back. Even though we got a steady head going first, we do have to take a turn back because what's now going to happen is we pass to our opponent's turn. During our opponent's standby phase, we'd activate protocol. You can change spoofing if you want to, or you can leave spoofing as is. Multi-faker. And then I would probably go for your marionette, your melee seek, because you've already got a bounce on board, and the melee seek can get you a search if it goes, so you can use it with protocol. Spoofing is still inactive, and then you've got a second protocol you can get rid of with spoofing should you want to change anything up. You've got a strike on your opponent, you've got a bounce, oh there we go, you've got a bounce on your opponent, and you've got a, let's say we negate an effect with melee seeks and get a search off. So you then had the ability to repay your board state, send this back for, if you haven't searched out a Marionetta, you would send back the protocol for your Marionetta, and move plays further forward that way. See, even the dog isn't too happy about it. So yeah, it's a bit of a slow burner, but it does have so much natural disruption for your opponent that it can cause them huge amounts of issues, which, you know, is where you've kind of got to come into it, and it's why impermanence is so expensive right now. Is it does actually help Altergeist have a turn 2 kind of play, and then ideally you want your hand traps to help extend your ability of, you know, moving boards further forward. So that is it. I hope this has helped. I hope this has given you a couple of ideas of the way the deck plays. It is quite linear in a standard kind of sense that, you know, you go trap, multi-faker Seal Coitus, or trap, multi-faker melee seek, and kind of move your plays further forward that way. But it is a very, very disruptive and powerful deck, and I can understand why it could cause some issues in the meta, especially after this ban list that we've just received. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Join us all this week where we will be bringing you Dark Saviors, box openings, deck profiles, test hands, and possibly duels. I'll see what I can do, and then we can go from there. But for now, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and as always, guys, happy dueling. Also, YouTube, thanks for watching that video. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit that like button. And of course, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button in the bottom left-hand corner and the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. We've got more deck profiles, duels, pack openings, and many more Yu-Gi-Oh videos coming up for you all year round. So don't forget to stay tuned for all of that. Thanks, and as always, guys, happy dueling.